Most people think that Buddhism is a religion, but what if I told you it wasn't? Many people don't know this, but Buddhism doesn't even have a creator or a god that created the universe. Buddhism doesn't reference blind faith, and in fact, the Buddha himself did not want to be worshipped. What is Buddhism really? Why do so many people misunderstand it, and how can we use it to better our lives? Let's dive in. First misconception about Buddhism is that it is a religion, just like Christianity or Islam or Judaism. But the truth is it isn't. Buddhism is not about this faith in a deity, in a divine being that created the universe, but instead about direct understanding through direct experience in this reality. What this means is it's about your experience and understanding the truth of reality for yourself. Misconception number 2, Buddhists worship the Buddha, and this is actually very far from the truth. See, in Asia, when somebody pays respect to their teacher, they will typically bow to their teacher. Buddhism is no different. See, Buddhists see the Buddha as a teacher. He is the teacher of the Dharma, and he is the enlightened one. This is very different than how Christians see Jesus, for example. See, when a Christian bows to Jesus, they are really bowing to their Savior. Buddhists bow to the Buddha out of gratitude for teaching them the way to end their own suffering. It comes right back to our personal experience. The Buddha is simply a teacher, and we are the student. Misconception number 3, Buddhism is simply about removing oneself, detaching from life, and just being at peace. While it is about being at peace, it is not about removing oneself from experience. Instead, it is actually quite the opposite. It is about understanding experience truthfully, understanding the truth of the experience by being as present as possible with it. See, Buddhism really dives into the nature of reality, the nature of all things. It's a path of deep insight. Many people confuse Buddhism and meditation with a stress relief mechanism. Oh, if I just meditate, I'll be at peace and relieve some stress. But the truth is again, that is just a byproduct. As we dive deeper into Buddhist practice, we understand the natures of reality, and these natures that exist, that are inherent, that are here all the time, lead us to this peaceful place. So when you see somebody meditating, they aren't really meditating to be at peace as much as they are meditating to understand themselves and reality. Let's talk a bit more about why Buddhism is not a religion. Well, the truth is Buddhism is not a religion. It is a practice, a path, an art form, and really a way of life. Some consider it a philosophy, but also it's not. That's because in Buddhism, we aren't really concerned with existential questions as much as we are concerned with our own direct experience right here, right now. We are concerned with the nature of things, not the conceptualized images of things. While it's fun to talk about these things of who created the universe or why things are the way they are, the truth is Buddhism is concerned with one thing and one thing only: liberation from suffering. Suffering, or dukkha, is the big word in Buddhism that is used many times. And the truth is that the Buddha taught specifically that exact thing: liberation from suffering. So remember, in Buddhism, it's not really religion because there is no God or creator that created this reality. It's never mentioned. There is also no blind faith. The Buddha actually said, "Don't believe anything I say." That's a paraphrase, but basically, don't believe anything I say, come for yourself and see. The word is ehipassiko, which basically means come and see. So the truth is, to be a good practicing Buddhist, you can't believe it blindly. You have to put it into practice and see for yourself if the Buddhist teachings are accurate. And the best way to do that is to learn them, meditate on them, and try them out for yourself. Another thing that complements this is the act of conviction. Conviction is different than faith. Faith can be blindly believing in something, whereas conviction is leaning into it, but putting it into practice to decide if it's true. The Buddha laid out a path for us to do this. It's called the Eightfold Path. An example of this, if you try meditation and see a change in your life, that is the Buddhist practice in action. And guess what? There's no blind faith needed to see the truth once you put it into action. Let's talk about some of the things that Buddhism actually does teach us. First off, the Four Noble Truths, the basic Buddhist teaching, the first Buddhist teaching, and basically what it talks about is that word dukkha, or suffering I mentioned earlier. In summary, it teaches us first that suffering exists. Second, that suffering exists because of our attachment or our clinging to things. Third, that we can have our suffering go away or secede, the cessation of suffering. Suffering can be eliminated. And finally, the fourth noble truth, the way to do that is through the Eightfold Path. There is also another grand Buddhist teaching called the Middle Way. It's about this practice. When we go down this path, the Eightfold Path, we do so with moderation. And furthermore, everything we do in our lives should be done in moderation, meaning finding the middle path for ourselves in our teachings, in our practice that we can then attribute to our practice. What does this look like? This looks like not eating too much or not eating too little, not meditating too much or not meditating too little, finding the balance in everything we do and approaching it through the middle way. Then there's the letting go of self. This is called anatta, and it means non-self, and it is considered one of the marks of existence. There are three: anatta, anicca, and dukkha. Anatta means that the things that we experience in our lives, our feelings, our sensations, our bodies, are not who we truly are. And once we can let go of this identity that we're the ones being attacked when somebody comes after us with some harsh speech, or that we're the ones feeling this pain when we experience a painful experience, then we can start to liberate ourselves from the suffering that usually follows those unpleasant experiences. For example, I can use the Buddhist teaching of non-self. If someone tries to attack me with their words, they can call me a name, and instead of me reacting to that, I can just acknowledge that there is no Bradley here. There is no Bradley to be called a bad name, and in fact, the action of him calling me a bad name has no effect on my actual experience unless I let it. So I can let that person call me a name, recognize there is no Bradley in essence here that is feeling that attack, and instead recognize that it is simply a vibration passing through the air, hitting my body, and although it may be unpleasant, it does not really affect me at my core because Bradley is not who I really am. That's the basic understanding, and putting it into practice can be difficult at times, but try next time someone is fighting with you. Remind yourself there is no me to be fighting with, and see how well it changes your perspective. Side note, the letting go of self, anatta, is a bit of an advanced topic, so if you don't resonate with it right now, maybe come back to it as you develop your practice a bit more. Finally, Buddhism doesn't teach us about going to heaven. Going to heaven is mentioned in the text, but it has nothing to do with it being the final place. Heaven is just another realm in Buddhism, and actually there are many heaven realms that we can be part of. But truth is that Buddhism is about liberation instead, liberating ourselves from the suffering right here, right now. We don't have to wait to get to heaven, we can do it right now. Here's some key takeaways. Can you be a Buddhist without calling yourself one? Absolutely. Anybody from any religion can practice Buddhism. Remember, it is not an identity as much as it is a practice and a path. Furthermore, how can we apply Buddhist teachings without being religious? Well, much of Western psychology actually uses Buddhist practice in their psychologies. Next time you experience something that is unpleasant, you can use the Buddhist practice of anicca, saying that this thing will pass, just as an example. So in the end, do you think Buddhism is a religion or not? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already watched it, please go check out my Buddhist teaching on the truth of suffering and how many people have been misled about this truth. You can find it here in the video as well in the description. Also, please subscribe for more wise content like this. We are going to continue to talk about how the Buddhist practice and path will lead us to liberation of suffering and will allow us to be more peaceful and find that peace within ourselves. Not asking for someone else, not asking for a deity to give us that peace, not waiting to get to heaven, but finding that peace right here, right now. And I look forward to seeing you here. May you be well and may you be free of suffering. Take care.